Hello, my marvelous Algebra 3 students. We are ready for our day number 3 as we take another visit to our online course. We're still talking about the ellipse in Chapter 12, Section 1. But today, we will graph an ellipse whose center is not at the origin. And this is the ellipse that we're going to graph today. Let's look at some pictures where the ellipse does not have a center at the origin. See, here's the origin, but here's the center right here. The longest axis here, the longer axis is the horizontal axis. So this is major axis is horizontal because you know it's the longest one. And the center is h, k. Here is another ellipse. This is the vertical ellipse because the major axis is vertical. That's the longest axis right there. And you see here h, k. The center is not at the origin. See, here's the origin and here's the center of this one. So we're going to be looking at graphs of ellipses whose center is not at the origin. Here's another way to look at it. You see here, this time something is being subtracted from the x and from the h, but it's still the binomial square over the a square plus the binomial square over the b square equals 1. And still, the a square is going to be what? Greater than what? The b square. And you see here, we have a horizontal major axis here again. Here, and remember the way that we determine whether we have a horizontal axis or a major axis is going to be the larger denominator. And since this a square is representing the larger denominator, it's under the x variable, so the major axis is going to be horizontal. Here, the a square, which will be the larger denominator, is under the y variable, so the major axis is going to be vertical. So here's the horizontal major axis, and here is the vertical axis. And you'll notice that both of these ellipses, the center is not at the origin. The center is not at the origin. Let's look at this again. Here is a standard form for the equation of the ellipse, and the center is h, k. Well, what did I do? I took the binomial and I set it equal to 0, so x equals h. I took the binomial, I set it equal to 0, and y equals k. So our center is h, k. X coordinate, y coordinate of the center. Here we have the standard form for the equation of the ellipse. Notice that the a square is under the x variable. Remember, the a square is going to always be the larger denominator, and the a square is going to be greater than the b square. And again, since the a square is under the x variable, the major axis is horizontal. Here, we have the standard equation for the ellipse where the center is h, k. This time, the a square is under the y variable, and we're going to have a vertical major axis. And again, the a square will always be greater than the b square. We're going to sketch this ellipse where the center is not at the origin. So the very first thing that we're going to do, we're going to find the center. So the center is -1, 2. We take the binomial x plus 1, we set it equal to 0, so x equals -1. We take the binomial y minus 2, we set it equal to 0, so y equals 2. So the center is -1, 2. The center is not at the origin. Now remember, this is our ellipse that we're going to be graphing. So we're going to find the a square. Remember that the a square is always the larger denominator. So here, our a square is equal to 9. We take the square root, we get plus or minus 3. Now you remember the plus or minus means you're going to go in either direction. So many units to the left and so many units to the right, or so many units up, or so many units down from the center. And since the a square is always the larger denominator, then the major axis is going to be horizontal because the larger denominator is under the x variable. You see? The larger denominator is under the x variable, so the major axis is horizontal. The fourth thing that we're going to find is the b square. The b square is 4. You see here the b square is under that's a smaller denominator. And this b then will be equal to what? Plus or minus 2 when you take the square root. But we're talking about a distance, so the b is 2. The minus just says that we're going to go in the opposite direction from the center. Now what we're going to do a quick sketch of our ellipse. So we're going to draw an XY axis, and we're going to do that. So here, this is my XY axis. Now we know that our center is -1, 2. So I'm going to estimate this. I'm going to go to the left 1 unit, then I'm going to go up 2 units. So here is my center. And remember that our A was like the plus or minus 3. And we had a horizontal major axis. So from my center, remember I always move from the center. I'm going to move 3 units. So this will be 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to go back to the left 3 units. 1, 2, 3. And the B, remember we had plus or minus 2. So from the center, I move up 2 units. 1, 2. Then I go down 2 units. 1, 2. And then you see I have the 4 dots on the outside the center. And then we do a dot to dot. Now, this is not a very good ellipse, but this is like a dot to dot. And that is a quick sketch of our graph. Remember, when you're doing the ellipse, this must always be equal to a 1. So I hope you enjoyed that. Here, this one looks a little bit better. See, here's a -1, 2 is the center. Then we move to the right, since we have a horizontal major axis, 3 units. 1, 2, 3. Then we move back to the left. 1, 2, 3. Then the B was 2, so from the center we move up 2 units. 1, 2. Then down 2 units. 1, 2. And this is a very quick sketch of our ellipse where the center is not. See, the center is not at the origin. Now, when you're viewing these videos, always remember you want to rewind and review. Remember to rewind and review. You can stop and pause as many times as you like so that you can go back and get an understanding of what we've been talking about. And that ends our video, and my love goes out to you.